and welcome back to our series of Making Nigeria Conference, our Agriculture and Tech series. Today, we're going to be having one of those topics that affect us as farmers. And we'll be having today as our guest, Barrister Agro Obiavel. He'll be talking to us on the effect of government in agriculture. I think I choose this topic for him because he has also been in corridors of power, he has been in government, he's a lawyer, so he understands the policies and what it takes on this. So Barrister Agro, welcome.
Yes, good afternoon everyone.
It's an amazing topic because first of all, he's a farmer. He understands what the struggle of farmers in the South in Nigeria, and he's there and has a first-hand experience. So my question is, as a farmer and someone who has been in government, what exactly do you think and where do you think our government can come in? Let me open it up for you.
Well, ordinarily, the functions of government are very clear when it comes to farming, because farming is everything. Government is supposed to support farmers. They are not doing much of that. Governments are supposed to create certain policies and creating an enabling environment. You know, these are the basic things government should do for farmers. Because the farmers are very important. Food is very important. Food is everything.
So why should government even support farming?
Without farming, we can't be here.
Okay.
And you know, hunger leads to whatever it can lead to. Hunger leads to crime. It leads to malnutrition, bringing in diseases so your body cannot cope. So agriculture is the basic issue that should be handled properly by government. If agriculture is done properly, then we can move as a people.
Okay, so you talked about policy making in agriculture.
Yes.
So how do you think that government can come in policy making?
First of all, there are known policies government has made over time. You know, but one of the issues is we are not from the same region. So when we say government, I would say local government, state government, federal government.
State government.
So when it comes to state government, yes, they have policies that are not being implemented. You know, these things are not being looked at lately. You know, so we don't understand this. So government should wake up and look at these things and start implementing them so the farmers can produce, create employment, and there will be food security for all of us.
Okay, so if I'm putting myself as a farmer right now, and I want a support, like for me now I'm a farmer and I'm a post farmer. One of my basic and my needs is support, financial support. So how can government come into financial support for farmers generally in the community, in our local communities, and then for farmers out there?
Well, ordinarily, there must be little support from government for farmers, because farmers are people that run into loss from time to time. I think in a proper society, government takes data of these farmers,
okay,
provide for them,
okay,
and even go as far as making sure they don't leave this business because it's important.
Okay.
So if you run into a loss, government will cover up for you.
How?
So you keep in a sane society, government covers up for you by providing everything you need to go back to production. But unfortunately, where we come from, there is no data. Okay. I don't know if the government has data of those people who are farmers and what they produce.
Just like what the people do in ADC and the Ministry of Agriculture. I'm sure if they tell you, they'll tell you that they have data of every farmer in the states, in local governments, because they have agric extension workers out there.
They don't have extension workers working anywhere.
Wow. So at this point, if government were to solve the problem of farmers in their states, in the local government, what would be the solution?
The first solution is data. You have to know I have 100 farmers in this state.
Okay.
Data also, you have to know that this state consumes, example, 10 bags of garri per day. Data. This state, we have 100 farmers, 7 producing garri, and they produce 4 bags and we consume 10 bags. So we need 6 bags into this state every day to meet up. You know, government needs the data of farmers, what they produce, how they sell. They need this control for us to move forward.
Okay.
Because you don't allow a farmer in River State produce maybe 10 bags of garri. Outside the state, they bring 20 bags. Outside the country, they bring 17 bags. In a total, we have so much for a little people. Then they start looking for how to sell their produce.
Okay.
So data is very important. That is the first step. The first steps to the solution or the problems.
So when you're used to the data, you got it. The question is, even if you have data from what we are facing in the states or in our region,
yes,
how do you even support the fact that some of the farmers are not even producing enough to feed the population?
How will you know farmers are not producing enough if you don't have data? If you don't know who the farmers are, if you don't know what they produce, why must we assume that they are not producing enough?
So after the data, what next?
When you have data, you know what they produce. You can now guide them by supporting them with seeds and whatever they need to produce. Then you control, now you make policies to make sure their produce can sell in the market.
Okay.
Mr. A is producing beans in the state. He can supply beans to everybody in the state. Adamu should not be bringing in beans from Benue because there is beans here already. Or you make sure you offtake the excess from the farmers. So you don't discourage them. You understand? If you offtake what they produce, all they produce, or the excess they cannot sell, you encourage them to remain in business. So that the man will not say, last time I produced 20, I don't see buyer, I beg make I do 5. When everybody thinks that way, we have crisis in future because production will reduce. So government has to work with farmers closely, very closely, and data is the solution.
In a place where we have data, and we have farmers, and they are doing what they are doing, and even if farmers are supposed to produce 10 bags of garri, they don't even have the capacity to produce 1 garri. And the government now have the data. How would government have a solution? Because in case, let me not be like I'm blaming government for what farmers are going through. Let me start from that. So how will the government now come in to say, okay, with this data, how will the government know the farmer is having issue of not producing enough, or does not have infrastructure for production, or does not have enough land for production?
Because these are the challenges. Government goes from data to infrastructure, enabling environment. First of all, we don't have issues, although we have issues with land holding, but we don't have issues with the kind of land we have around here. There is land everywhere. The only problem we have in the south is land holding, how the ownership of land is. This is family land, this is community land, this is individual land, you understand?
Okay.
But there is land for production. Let's take garri, for instance. The only thing you need to provide, to produce garri is cassava. You don't even need water. You can wash the cassava in the river. You don't even need, you can pick firewood from the bush. We have the woods there, you can pick them. Producing garri means planting cassava. It involves clearing of land, planting of stem, allowing it to grow, harvesting, peeling, washing, grinding, and frying. With data, policies,
research and development,
and enabling environment, this thing will happen overnight. There's no special thing about it. Our grandparents, great-grandparents have been doing it over the years. We need little education. You need to tell the farmers, the village farmers, from 1 plot of land, you're expected to have 1 ton of cassava. It can give you 3 naira for the year. So if you want to make 6 naira, please do 2 plots of land. That is what they need. Because everybody wants money, everybody wants profit that can take care of, But when they start farming without knowing what they're expecting from that size of land, it looks like farming does not pay. So education is also important.
Research and development.
That is the work of the extension workers to guide these people. But unfortunately, they don't come across extension workers.
So being a farmer, I was thinking that I have to look for money. We need finance. We need a whole lot of things. But on the second thought, I'm thinking, yes, because data. Looking at our own sector where we find ourselves in this South region, we have our own farming is peculiar. I keep saying that because we have both the farmers that does land farming, we have the livestock, we have the riverine aquaculture, people that do fishing farming. We don't have data for that. And then we have a lot of shortage for that, which is now I'm accepting. I didn't know data was an issue. But right now I'm trying to now brainstorm to understand that this is an issue. But however, looking at what we have now, I'm going forward to say data is very important as farmers and how government can actually use for policy making. And they also know how to go about to support farmers, bring about infrastructure, and also for research and development. Looking forward, how do government start? Maybe I'm going to ask, how will they start after this? Because right now we're also talking about the conference we have on ground. A lot of persons are looking at, we have farmers everywhere and we don't have enough data to discuss. And then a lot of farmers, we don't have the forum to discuss and say, these are our issues, let's come together, let's have a one voice. And then, of course, that is why Making Nigeria conference is here with the conference, the infusion with Agri and Tech. And where we feel that, okay, maybe we can start with this kind of conference where we can say, okay, government can now come in here. Let's see where we can start from. Let's meet who the farmers are. And then how can we start from here to know what we can do? How do we collaborate with the state, the bankers, the organizations that are here and all the rest? So from this point, what do we think will be the next solution?
Well, when we say government, who is government?
Okay, right question.
You know, then I've never seen an engineer as a commissioner of justice. I've never seen a lawyer as a commissioner of health. So from the start, the government or the people have made agriculture unimportant. To them, health is important. A doctor that knows much about health should be the commissioner of health, should be the minister of health. Law is important. A lawyer should be the commissioner of justice, minister of justice, attorney general. But when it comes to the most important thing
that
keeps us alive, it doesn't just feed us. Agriculture is broad. From the clothes we wear, from the food we eat, from the cars we drive, the houses we live, whatever, the books we read, all this is under agriculture. But when it comes to those who mount the agricultural portfolio, they can bring anybody.
Without experience.
Without experience.
No background information.
So the government is telling us that agriculture is not important. So they don't need professionals to mount it. So when a man is not a professional, he doesn't understand this thing, how does it work?
You have the PAMSEC.
You know, these are the foundational issues. Okay. So government has to wake up. Or the people have to wake up, because I don't like saying government. I don't know what government is. I don't know if government is fair, black or white.
In fact, I think if I've not seen a state that is getting it right in South, I would have been wondering if what we are saying is impacting. But however, I think I have, because I'm into the processing aspect of agriculture. And all of a sudden I found out that in every place, if you go to timber market, you see Aquabon farmers, people selling things. You go to my one, they keep having different places where they come to sell. And then I traveled, there was Denmark, and I found that one of the good things that happened to that state was the government made sure they have good roads accessing all the communities.
Yes, all the communities.
So it made it open for farmers to bring their product, and they can travel anywhere. So even if you're not giving them money to do farming, they can produce and not only send in their state, but send it to other states because of good roads. And then also looking at the north, it shocked me for the first time that I was supposed to send goods from the north down here, from Jos, that those buses or those, it's subsidized rate. The government has paid for part of the things. And it makes it possible for them to bring a lot of things down here. So for me, it's now make me understand that if these little things are not worked on, there will be issues. And maybe the next 5 years now, we'll be all suffering for food because there's lack of food in our state or in our city. Thank you very much for such an enlightened, what else would I say? Because right now I'm shocked and I'm short of words. Thank you for being part of our show.
Welcome.
Thank you for taking time for us. And so, till our next time, we will meet again in Making Nigeria Conference, African Tech. See you next time in our series.